CSS selectors is part of the CSS rule set that selects the content you want to style. In this video, you will learn some common CSS selectors. The most common selectors include element selectors, class selectors, ID selectors, and grouping selectors. So let's take a closer look at each of them. Element type selector, also referred as type selector. So this selector must match one or more HTML elements of the same name. You do this by simply specifying the name of the element you wish to style. For example, I'll target the body element, then I'll change my background color to 038C65. Then I'll change the color to white. Then I'll target my heading 1 and I'll change the color property to F27E7E. Then the font size 3EM. Then I will text align to center. For my heading 2, I want to change the color to B8D9CD. Then the font size 1.2 EM. Now let's look at class selector. The class selector selects HTML element with a specific class attribute. Now, to target a class attribute in your CSS, use a period character followed by the class name. So I'll turn to my HTML and then I will create a class attribute with a value of origin here. In my CSS, I'll write dot origin, then change the color to 000 for black. The class selectors allow you to style multiple elements with the same class attribute. I'm going to copy this class attribute and paste it on this other paragraph. Now they're also affected with the same style. With class selector, you can have more than one in an element. Now let's turn to ID selector. The ID selector uses the ID attribute and is used to select one unique element. So I'm going to add ID attribute in my heading 1 and call it main. In my CSS, I'll use hash character and the name main. Then I'll change the property text decoration line with a value of underline. I want to center this page and I'm going to use a div as a container and I'll add a class of container. Then in my CSS, I'll target that class dot container, add a width of 500 px, then a margin of 0 top and bottom, and auto left and right. And now I've centered my page. Good. Now let's look at universal selector. This selector will select all elements on a page. Here's an example. We declare universal selector using asterisk. Inside the curly brackets, I'll target the color to blue, font size 20 px, and a line height of 1.5. As you can see, not everything was affected, and the reason is we have overwritten those properties. If we look at the two paragraphs that were affected with color, you can see that we didn't add a class attribute like the first two, and that's why they are affected. Now let's look at grouping selectors. Here, we group all HTML elements with the same style definition. For example, if our heading 1 and heading 2 have the same style definition, it would be better to group them to minimize the code. So to group selectors, separate each selector with a comma, like this. Heading 1, comma, heading 2, then the color property and the value. Then we can just delete the color from heading 1. So as you can see, CSS selectors are essential tools for styling your web pages. And you will see other selectors in the future videos. In the next video, I will introduce some tools that will make our learning easy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.